What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's good to see you guys. I know I'm a few days late on the video from when I typically post, but having some audio issues. My audio recorder is kind of taking a crap on me. I'm waiting on a replacement to get here, but we are going to make our way through it. So what I had planned for today, we're going to kind of mix things up and do something a little different. We'll get back to that in a future video. But today we're going to go down and take a look at some video I shot of me loading gear back in after a gig and what that whole process looks like. Load in, load out, how much gear you need to go play a 3-piece gig in Athens, Georgia. Man, it was a little more than what I was wanting. This venue that we played last Friday had, it's kind of a dive bar, cool spot, tiny little stage. We were just 3 across. And you never know, there was some speakers hanging, but my advice is if you're going to play a gig with your band and they don't brag about their PA or let you know that they have a house sound guy, bring your own PA. Take your success into your own hands, because from my experience, whenever you run into a situation like that, it usually means that it's going to be a rough go of it. All right, if this is your first time to the channel, if you're new to this channel and not subscribed yet, I'd like to invite you to hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on so you get notified when I put these videos out. And if you dig this video, do me a solid, hit that like button. Let's get to it. All right, well, today's video is going to be a little bit of a departure from how we normally do things around here. Played a gig with the band a couple of days ago. Got most of the gear loaded down here yesterday. Something happened. I accidentally bumped this killer coffee table that was given to me by my dear friends Benji and Alexis Shanks. Had a tempered glass top on it, kind of a mid-century vibed little piece. And I guess I bumped it with my pedal board case when I was wheeling it back in here. And the whole thing exploded. So I spent yesterday afternoon cleaning all that mess up and just now getting back down here, unpacking all the gear, which is part of what we do, is playing these gigs. And my question to you guys today is going to be a lot of is it worth it kind of questions. So it's certainly worth it to go out and play gigs. I love playing gigs, especially with the band. It's been a minute since we've done that. It was great to work the rust off, but the place we played had no PA. Well, had sort of a PA. Some of these things you can't really take for granted what it's going to sound like, what kind of quality. It's better just to bring your own PA, bring what you need, so you're not reliant on anybody else's their gear that may or may not be upkept. And while we were thinking about how this was all going to work, this is kind of a small-ish dive bar. Cool spot, great crowd. But the whole strategy was just to put some kick drum and the vocals in the mains. We'll get stage volume from everything else, right? And then we decided we would run our in-ears. And this is the first time that this band has run in-ears. And it's certainly the first time I've ever run in-ears where I am actually mixing the band from the stage and having to sort out in-ears. And while it made a lot of sense to do that, because it wasn't a lot at stake, it would be a great opportunity to kind of work off the rust and work out the kinks of whatever might be going on with the in-ears. I learned very quickly that the tricky thing about in-ears is when they're in your ear, they also operate as an earplug, right? So then you're only hearing what's in the mix. And if all you have mic'd up is the kick drum and the vocals, well, then that's all you're going to hear, your ear mix. And this question isn't going to be for you guys who are on the big touring rigs running in-ear systems, because it makes a lot of sense if you're loading in and out of a trailer or a semi and you're doing big stage rigs and you have a front of house guy and you have a monitor guy and you've got stereo monitor mixes and you have a dedicated console that you're using for that. Well, then there's a lot that goes into that. It makes a lot of sense to split off the signal going to front of house and go to monitors and be able to get elaborate in-ear mixes dialed in. But if you're playing in a bar, if you're playing in small clubs, if you're running sound for yourself most of the time, some of you guys do like I do, a lot of corporate gigs where you are bringing your own PAs and you're really just trying to get what you need without necessarily having the most elaborate setups. Does it make sense to run in-ears if you're just going to be miking up the kick drum and putting vocals in the mains? Yeah, I didn't have the best experience with it. So you guys drop me some comments. Let me know what it is, the tips and tricks that you guys use in your own systems to get the most out of your in-ear setups. And maybe I'm missing something here, and I'm totally down to be missing something because I want to be able to hear. I want to be able to sing better, but I also want to be able to still be engaged with my band, hear what I need out of my amp, and feel that body, that girth that you get out of hearing a cabinet hit the back of your ass when you're playing a live show, right? And I didn't have that at all. It was very disjointed, such a weird feeling to be playing up there on stage, very distracted from like connecting with people in the audience because my rig just sounded odd to me. And yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. In the meantime, let's get this gear unpacked and set back up so we can really be able to take a look at everything. Let's go. All right, so we're getting the gear set back up. I've got the Behringer XR18 Wi-Fi mixer. It's in a Gator case. I also have a DBX drive rack in here so that I can run subs with this and tune the rig depending on where I'm playing. And then I have my in-ears in here. This is these are Sennheiser EW300 G4s. And very impressed with these. I've had some Sures in the past, but I really like the Sennheisers. And then, of course, just have a Furman power conditioner in here. A key to this rig, though, if you're thinking about running one of these Wi-Fi rigs, make sure you just go spend some money and get a good wireless router. As I learned the hard way the first time that I took this out, I was playing this festival, doing an acoustic duo, and we got through sound check. Everything was sounding great. And came back and tried to unmute the system and all the house music, and another phone had connected to the network, and I could not ever reconnect to this. So I had to shut it down, and luckily had my good buddy Bill Carroll, rest in peace, rest in power, brought a small mixer, and we were able to get through the gig, but it was a catastrophe. So went and got this mixer, super easy to set up. I was having some glitchy issues with it the other night, but I think the firmware needs to be updated on it. But that's how this rig's set up. So I'm going out of the back of this. You can see I've got the Ethernet cable that's going to the router. This is my aux. I'm in aux 1, so that's my my monitor mix, and it's going to my ears. Oh, there we go. And then I just I keep my in-ear monitors, and I would recommend you do the same if you're running in-ears. Go to Harbor Freight or go somewhere and get a cheap little Pelican case. You'll be glad you did. And for my in-ear monitors, I have 2 sets of earbuds, and I really have always liked, I've been using the Westone ambient, whatever you call them. They're AM Pro 30s, I think is the model. And it allows you to hear kind of what's happening around you. They're not so isolating like a lot of earbuds are, and that's been great. But I was having some major phase issues the other night. It just sounded so weird when we were rehearsing in here. So I decided not to take those, and I used my Shure SE425s, which are, I love those. I'm thinking about getting some custom molds made for those. But for any of you guys who have those or any of those Shure isolating earbuds, you know you're isolated. So all you're hearing is what's coming through the PA. When you're playing a small gig like we were at a kind of dive bar, all we had going through the mains was the kick drum and 2 vocal lines. So that's all you're going to get in your ears. Well, it makes it really tough if you're a guitar player. So I needed to be able to get my guitar. I needed to hear what the bass was playing. I needed to feel what the drums were doing, not just hear a kick drum or just the thud of what that sounds like when you're playing music. So I ended up setting up a pair of overheads on the drums, doing a direct out of the bass, and putting a 57 on my 212. And that got it done. It definitely sounded fine, except for that you're getting nothing from the crowd. You sound so isolated, so weird. And the applications I've used in the years prior to this, it's either been in a large band that had a monitor guy as well as a front of house guy and a dedicated in-ear monitoring rig where you're building stereo mixes out. You've got mics going out into the crowd. You've got mics strategically placed around stage so that you hear everything and it sounds great. And that is a great way to do it. And then I've also done it playing acoustic, where I'm just getting, you know, maybe I'll put a 58 or a 57 out on the audience, and then I've got my vocal mic and my guitar in, and it's great that way because there's not a lot going on. But in an application like this, when you're playing in a bar, I just think that maybe next time I just bring a wedge. I'm curious to know, you guys who are running in-ear rigs, what your tips and tricks are, especially when you're playing these kind of small gigs. Do you have any tips and tricks? Because I could sure use some. I like being able to hear myself is awesome. That certainly is worth getting in ears. As a singer, you don't push so hard, you're not blowing your voice out. You can hear your pitch, you're not so pitchy, but you also give up that all the vibe that you get of standing on stage with other musicians and creating music and feeling and vibing off of them. It's like, I don't know, I'm definitely on the fence about it, but I'm curious of what you guys think. So drop me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. How are you making the most out of your in-ear rigs? And what's your least favorite part about going and playing gigs? Mine is loading the gear up and unloading the gear. Getting it back down here. There's a lot of gear, and it's quite a walk. The sacrifices we make for rock and roll. All right, guys, that's going to be our video. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me today. I hope you guys got something out of this video. And again, if you have any insight into the best ways to run in-ear rigs in small venues and on a small platform where you're not on a touring rig and you've got a dedicated monitor guy who's keeping you dialed in, I want to hear from you. Drop me a comment. Let me know your pro tips, your best practices, your criticisms, anything and everything that you got. Let's get a dialogue going about it, because I bet I'm not the only one who's dealing with this. Also, don't forget to hit that like button if you dug this video, and hit the subscribe button and the notification button and all the buttons. Hit the buttons. Until next time, I'm Justin Brogdon. You guys keep being good to each other and keep doubling down. Peace.